So we are going to transfer again back to the Cincinnati Zoo for another fabulous animal encounter. And this time, I believe we have Sarah, who is handling Pi, our pigeon. Hi, Sarah. How you doing?
Hi. Hello. This is Pi, our pied imperial pigeon. And Pi, the term Pi usually, or pied, just refers to an animal that's two colors. In this case, we have black and white on our pied imperial pigeon. And this pigeon doesn't look a whole lot like the pigeons that we have here in Ohio or in the United States. It is not as colorful as our pigeons, and it's a whole lot bigger than our pigeons. This pigeon is from New Guinea and some of the smaller Asian islands, and lives in the forests that are along the coast. And she's really excited. She's puffing up and looking around. She hasn't been out on a lot of programs, as you might imagine. We haven't been able to get out and meet a lot of people lately, but she's really excited to be out right now. So you might see her fluffing up a little bit and looking around and showing off. Plus that lens cap, that camera lens, looks a lot like a giant eyeball looking at her, so she might be investigating that a little bit. Her beak that you see there is really great for finding her, well, for preening her feathers as she's doing, and for finding her primary food source. Oh, my watch is vibrating right now. I'm sorry, Pi. For finding her primary food source and getting it. And her primary food source is going to be fruits, and she will pluck those right off of branches, and she will swallow them whole. Oh, she will drop them on the floor. She will swallow them whole. Let's see. Do you want to pick your own? And she'll also eat seeds, which she's preferring right now. Or she'll throw those on the floor. What do you think? No, maybe. So in this cup are some different fruits and seeds. She said, I'm nervous. Eating in front of strangers is embarrassing, right? But she will, let me grab one of these off the ground. Let's see, I feed it to her. No, of course not. But she'll swallow those whole. And that's actually a really important part of what she does in her habitat, is to swallow those fruits whole. Because when she swallows them whole in her stomach, she will digest all of the soft part on that fruit. And out the other end come all of the hard seeds and the insides of those fruits. And she deposits them with a nice little package of fertilizer all around the forest where she lives, and plants the next generation of trees. So she has a really important role that she plays where she lives in planting the forests of the future. So the trees provide her the food, and she provides the forest the service of replanting it. So it's a nice, important relationship that she has with her home. A lot of the animals that live around us have that same relationship. A lot of the fruit-eating and plant-eating animals that live near us also plant the next generation of forests where they live. You can see, because she is a bird, she is going to fly. So she just vocalized a little bit. I don't know if you heard that. So when she does plant those seeds, she's not going to plant them exactly where that tree was where she got the food from. She's going to plant them in another location. So those seeds will spread far and wide, much farther than that tree or that plant could have spread them on its own. So let's talk a little bit more about her being able to fly and her being a bird. So she has those feathers. I know. I don't have any fruit, I'm sorry. So she has a beak. She has those feathers. I know, I don't have fruit, I'm sorry. She has the ability to lay eggs. and all of those characteristics make for a bird. We learn about all sorts of topics like the role that animals play in the ecosystem and about the different characteristics of different animals in our programs here at the zoo. And those are all things that I know tie into the standards and are things that just by looking out your window as teachers, you can observe right outside, or maybe by taking your students outside, you can tie into the different things you're learning in your classroom. And most students do have a window that they can look out of, and birds are so very visible almost anywhere. So they're a great way to tie in and bring alive the standards and the lessons that you're learning. So we love to tie in birds to the different programs that we do. They're so familiar. Does anybody have any questions about pie, our pied imperial pigeon?
So Sarah, we have had a few questions come in. How old is Pie and how long do they usually live?
Great question. Pie is a sprightly 8 years old, and in human care, they tend to live about 20 years.
And in her home habitat, is she considered endangered at all?
Another good question. They are not endangered, but like a lot of animals, they are being watched because of the threats to their habitat where they live. Because they live on islands, there's not a lot of places for them to go, and so as habitat is disappearing, it is a challenge for them because they do not have an alternative habitat to move to.
So how much does she weigh? Is your arm getting very tired?
No, that's a great question. Birds are actually quite light. They have to be light in order to fly. I'm surprised she hasn't demonstrated one of the other reasons that makes her light, which is going to the bathroom at least every 20 minutes. She went right before. She dispersed some seeds onto my paper down here right before the program. She is quite light. She weighs less than a can of soda.
And in the wild, what kind of things might prey on her?
Well, another good question. Snakes might prey on her, larger birds might prey on her, and any carnivorous mammals might prey on her. So any larger cats might prey on her as well. She's checking out Kayla peeking at her from behind the padcaster.
So tell us a little bit about the zoo as well, because I know you were shut down for a while, but now you're back open. How would teachers bring their kids, or how would residents come to the zoo? How's that working now?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. With teachers, they can book a field trip. If they are able to come with their students, they would book a field trip by going onto our website and clicking on the education tab that is across the bar at the top, and then clicking on the teacher box that appears, and then following what they're interested in after that, whether they're interested in a zoo on the move experience or a field trip experience. If they are just interested in coming with their family, they would click on the visit the zoo and then purchase tickets. For tickets, you do have to reserve a time if you are coming with just your family. With field trips, it's a little bit more open and available because not as many schools are able to come. So there are not as many restrictions on the numbers of schools, that we haven't had to cap as many of those numbers as we do with families coming. So those general admission tickets, you do have to reserve a time and a date ahead of time. And all of the tickets are online. So you reserve your time and your date, and then you'd have your online ticket already purchased, and you'd come and visit us at the zoo. And we do have our new kangaroo habitat and our new penguin habitat that are both open, and we have a new baby rhino who is adorable and just started coming out this week pretty regularly. So we hope that some schools are able to visit, and some teachers are able to visit. And we would love to see some smiling school groups here at the zoo. If you are able to come and visit the zoo, we have some self-guided activities as well that teachers can download and have their students walk around and fill out some sheets to accompany them on their visit and help with those learning experiences as well. She's just preening away. Preening is a really important part of what birds do to keep their feathers in order and keep them waterproof and healthy. And birds will shed and get new feathers, or molt and get new feathers. A lot of their feathers shed or molt about once a year, and they grow in new ones. And it's important because their feathers have to be in good working order to keep them warm, dry, and flight worthy at all times. And sometimes when she's preening, it's because she's getting sleepy and wondering. This is a lot of it. You can see your eyes are closing a little bit. But a preening bird is a comfy bird. It's a calm bird. So you all are doing a great job making her feel calm and comfortable.
So I did have another question come in. How big is their clutch size normally?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I actually don't remember the answer to that offhand. I can have someone, let's see, I can look that up really quickly. They usually lay one egg, rarely two. So 1 to 2 eggs. So a lot of parental investment in just a few babies, 1 to 2 babies. And I know that the males will do some lovely calling and cooing to the females to interest them, to get the interest of the female, and then they will form a bond with that female during that mating and breeding season, and then with the with helping with the babies. She's actually talking. I don't know if you can hear. She has a really low, like boom, boom kind of sound. So their call sounds like goo 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 goo. It's very lovely. It makes a low boom 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 kind of call when she's just talking to us, or not trying to call for a mate.
And I have one last question for you, Sarah, before we let you go. Do these pie pigeons mate for life, or do they just mate seasonally?
It's more of a coming together during that courtship and breeding season. They might come back together with the same one, but I'm not entirely sure how frequently that happens.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. And I assume that's Kayla again behind our camera. I want to thank her. And of course, a giant thank you to Pi for being so wonderful with us today and so calm and answering all of our questions. So thank you so much to our attendees. You can log in tomorrow at 3:15 and at 4 o'clock to see another animal encounter with the zoo. So again, we will do animal encounters tomorrow at 3:15 and at 4 o'clock. So for those of you first logging on for our next breakout session, my name is Gwen Roth, and I want to welcome you to the Greater Cincinnati Environmental Educators' first ever virtual Ultimate Educator Expo. This is actually the 22nd year that we've been doing this expo, but just the first time we've done it virtually, which is the first time a lot of us have done stuff virtually. So we are very excited about this new format, and we hope you are too. I encourage you to visit our website, the GCEE website, to find resources for virtual programs, field trips, activities, grants. All of our member organization stuff is on there. We have over 30 organizations that are members of this loose-knit organization. You can go to www.gc-ee.org. A few housekeeping reminders. If you have any questions for the presenters today, please type that in the Q&A. I'm going to be monitoring that Q&A, and just like I did with the zoo, I will be asking them questions towards the end of their session. We're recording this session, and a copy of this video will be available on that website within 2 weeks of the end of the Expo. So if we're just that fabulous and you want to watch it again, you want to share with your teachers, share with your students, we would highly encourage you to do that. We are going to be calling out a door prize winner towards the end of this session, so make sure you stick around, and we'll just call out a name and ask you to raise your hand or put in the Q&A that you're here, and we'll use the email that you signed in with to hook you up with our next presenter and send you the door prize, or yes, send you our door prize. And if there's any handouts from any sessions, you can get those off of our website. Again, www.gc-ee.org. So without further ado, I'm sure you guys have heard me say that a lot this week. I am going to welcome our next presenters. We have a group from the Cincinnati Nature Center, and they are led by our fabulous naturalist, Melissa Sabo. So Liz, take it over.
Hello, everybody. I have a group with me because I don't like being up here by myself. So I found a loophole, and everybody else is mad at me because I figured out how to get other people on stage with me. I'm Melissa, or you heard Gwen call me Liz. I go by either one. And all of my co-presenters, I'm going to call them my panelists today, can turn their videos on. I'll introduce them. Basically, I bribed them and asked very nicely if they would come be on screen with me and take the same training that all of you are taking, but on camera. So I know we can't hear all the rest of you who are watching, but please give them a round of applause because they have volunteered to be very vulnerable and do this on camera. They are a delight. So we have 2 volunteers from the Nature Center. Rolly, give us a wave. And Sandy, who is labeled as Katie on here, but I had to do the last minute substitution. So that's Sandy. And we have 2 teachers, Denise and Lisa, who are teachers in our Milford district. And then Laura is our public programs fellow this year. So they will be participating in the training with us and bringing some voices. And I'll ask you all to unmute at some point here soon. I'll be asking some questions of the whole group, but you'll be the ones that'll be able to actually use your voices to share your experiences. Don't worry, they're not hard questions at all. So thank you, all of you, for joining us. Hopefully it will be fun. This is all new to us. I'm hoping that I can just share some of our experiences. Like all of you, we had to flip very quickly in the spring when COVID hit. And I run our field trip program. I'm a past classroom teacher. I don't know how to teach virtually, but I had to figure it out very quickly, like all of you. And we started running virtual field trips. To a limited extent, we did very well. Sometimes we botched it. Sometimes we did great. Sandy / Katie helped us with those in the spring. And I'm going to share some of that with you today. And I hope that we can give you some kind of technical tricks that we have learned along the way, as well as teach you about why we want you to be using animals in your classroom. So here we go. And I think Gwen will need my other device. I have a second device, everybody. Ooh, my other device will need to be logged in as a panelist as well soon. So I have a very short PowerPoint because I don't really like PowerPoints very much. So I'm going to give you a very short one. I know there's no worm in the picture, but there is some worm evidence. So this is my first panelist question. What worm evidence do you see in this picture? Dun, dun, dun.
Castings.
I heard Lisa say it, but you might have to say it a little louder.
Castings.
And that's the science word for what?
Poop.
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 Worm poop.
I was gonna.
And Denise is going to say poop. Kids love poop. So if you can find all the science words for poop and match them up, you're going to have a whole bunch of really excited learners. And if you put pictures of it on your screen, oh man, there you go. If you have some hesitant readers in your room, give them some poop words, good to go. There's some great poop books that I would be happy to suggest for anyone interested after this. So we've got some worm castings. Ironically, it's been very dry. I don't have many actual worms with me today, but I have a lot of other animals in front of me on my desk. So if any of you at any point need to contact me or have questions after this, I'm going to leave my email up here for a moment. I want everybody, including our viewers at home, to think back to moments when you have seen children interact with live animals. So here's our session plan. My first question I'm going to be asking you is, why should we use live animals? So why? What have you seen children do around live animals? And adults too, I'll broaden it. And I'll have my panelists answer. Go for it, Denise.
Excited.
They get really excited.
Very excited, and they want to get in and look.
They want to get into it and look, and they probably jam up very close to your face, which is an interesting thing during COVID. I was just next to a bunch of children. Lisa, go ahead.
They ask lots of questions.
Lots of questions. We get a ton of curiosity. The first one's usually, what is that? What's it doing? Which is fine. I never give them the answer to that question right away, because the second you give them the name, they're done with it. So that's my first challenge to all of you watching. Don't give it a name first. Make them work for it. You're gonna work for that answer. We 2 years ago did a first grade nature club after school at a nearby school. Those kids lasted 6 weeks not knowing the name of this weird thing they found in a schoolyard, and they worked hard to find out what it was. They read books. They asked us questions. Every day they got to ask yes or no questions to figure out closer and closer. Their questions got so interesting and so specific by the end. And we finally brought in a story to tell them that got them the answer. Some of them had already figured it out, but it was amazing. And they will never forget what that is because they work so hard for it. We spend way too much time getting the answer right away because we have Google, and then we forget it. So any of our panelists experience that? Where you look it up right away and then immediately forget? I know I have done that. All right, so we see this face. I actually want you to look at the adult's face in this. Many of us know this adult because she works here, and she is always like this, but we see that look on the face of children a lot too. Look at the engagement in that moment. This is one of my favorite pictures because almost every child I've seen interact with an animal looks like that. Whoa, they're getting to access something that either they've had exposure to in their lives and they get to reconnect with, or it's something new to them that they're getting the real thing in front of them, that we can't replace that with a picture. So this is just a quick access point for what we use at the Nature Center as really basic level. Everything we do, we want it to be safe. And then the next level, we want it to be age appropriate. We really want it to be outdoors whenever we can. And then we want it to be real, the real thing, not a prop. As much as we can, we want it to be real. Now, sometimes if you're teaching virtually, you can't get them outdoors, but you can get them real. And if the real thing can be in front of them on a screen, that's the next best thing to having the real thing in their hands. Now, if you're in the classroom and you have the real thing and you only have one of them and you have 20 kids, that's not very COVID happy. So maybe you can get it on a screen inside, and that's a really nice opportunity as well. So I'm hoping this will be a good use for both different things, to get the kids spaced out from each other in the classroom, or to use this virtually. So what do you all picture when I say animal?
Something furry.
Probably something like this.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
probably something like that. So when I actually mean animal today, I mean these things. Now, yes, all of those things are animals, and those are the things that everybody connects to. We skew a little heavily in the mammal category and the bird category. But guess what does not get to run away very fast when you bring 30 second graders running towards it? All of these things. Yeah. You can put it in a jar. You can look at it for a little while. You can pass it around a room. Have any of my panelists ever done that with a squirrel? Actually, I'm looking at Rolly. Well, I'm a little worried about that question now.
No squirrels.
No squirrels. Maybe a dead squirrel. But yeah, it's a little hard to do that with mammals and birds and larger animals. Not impossible to study those things, but to do something longer term, I really want us to be thinking about smaller things and vertebrates, things that are handleable, things that maybe you can find a lot of and have one per kid even. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Actually, I do have something I need you to think about. So all my panelists, I really want you to think about, and you at home, do you have an animal on that screen or elsewhere that makes you uncomfortable and make an ick face? And you can be honest. A lot of people do. I see Denise saying no because she texts me pictures all the time of all the weird stuff she finds. I am still learning to love house centipedes. Even though I teach invertebrate classes here, I still like something about house centipedes. I just need to learn to love them. But we all have the potential to have an ick factor. But as teachers, if we pass that on to our students, we are missing an opportunity to really engage with them at a really meaningful level. Can any of our panelists share a moment or an ick factor they have tried to get over?
I can share.
Go ahead, Laura.
So I don't love spiders. Little ones aren't too bad, but I used to live in Texas where I worked as an educator, and we had some pretty big spiders there. So it required a lot of restraint for me to not get freaked out anytime we saw like a really big furry spider on the trail. It took a lot of practice for me to not get super creeped out by those.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice. You have an extra safeguard this year. Most of you will have a mask covering your face. So if something catches you off guard, you have this extra thing covering you up so only your eyeballs show, which has worked against me this year because I realized I teach with my face a lot. I didn't know that until now I'm covered up. But try really hard to say, how interesting, and take a step back. Those are usually the words that we try and interject instead of going, ew, or say, ooh, instead. Because boy, especially with young kids, they are gonna pick up on it and do what you do. And I am guilty of having passed on some fears to students of my own. I have something in front of me. I'm gonna stop my screen share for something. I have something in front of me. And if you could highlight my cell phone for a second. Oops. There's something hiding in this bowl that I got very scared of when I was teaching 3rd grade. And people don't like these.
The cockroach?
It is and these are wood roaches, but they're related. And they move really fast. Oh, they were moving really fast until I got this out. And I had a child smash one in my classroom. And I bet you those kids who are teenagers still today, I bet those kids remember that moment. So, oopsie. But these are really cool animals. So I hope you're practicing at home. I'm going to give you another one. I'm going to give you this one. And I'm going to use my flashlight.
ooh.
Laura's practicing. So everybody at home practice. How interesting.
Yeah. What is that? What kind of spider
How
is that?
interesting. So at Lisa's school, we did a schoolyard program and we broke the kids into groups by animal. Lisa, do you remember they all fought over who wanted to be in the spider group because they all loved spiders?
That's awesome.
Going back, I wish we had done all spiders because the kids loved them. So imagine you have kids who are really interested in spiders, but you are not. What opportunities are you taking away from those kids who maybe would be interested in a writing project or a reading project that usually isn't, but would have done it if you had found a way to be interested? You don't have to get a big giant spider like this. I just was really interested in this one today.
Are there
I'm
any,
gonna,
are there any spiders that would bite?
any animal could bite you if you bothered it enough, but I just gently scooped this one into a jar and it's hiding from me. It doesn't want to use energy to hurt me. Because being scared takes a lot of energy. So it's curled up inside this leaf. It wants me to just pretend it's not there. So I'm just shining a light on it and holding my camera really steady over top of it. And Gwen, we could probably go back to a gallery view so I can show you all what I'm actually doing, because this is part of what I want to show you today is how to actually do what I'm doing. Sorry, I'm gonna make you barf. So I'm just using my shattered old cell phone screen. Look how gross it is. Ugh. Just holding it over top, nice and steady. And putting a flashlight on my animal because I don't have very good lighting in my office. And that's the trick. So I'm going to have my panelists practice this in a minute. The trick is finding a container that is the right depth. And this is a little deeper than I usually would use, but I didn't want this one escaping because I want to take good care of it. And this one is usually perfect. I have yet to find a use for a peanut butter jar that does not exist. So balancing your phone right on top, and on Zoom, you usually can just tap right on your, there we go, tap right on your screen in the corner, and you get a nice view of your animals, and you can zoom in. And if you're not getting the right, see how I'm wiggling all of a sudden and it doesn't look very good because I'm trying to hold this above. If you're not getting the right distance, you need to find, I need about this much extra, something to hold it nice and steady, and you can zoom in more. It's not amazing, but it works. And we use this with kids in the spring to show them animals up close. And you wouldn't believe how excited they were to see all these little animals walking around on their screens. That was probably the most engaging part of what we did. We shared videos on screen. We asked them questions. Nope, they loved seeing the animals. So I'm gonna have my panelists start getting their animals ready. And I'm gonna get one more out while they're doing that because I would like them to try with their phones. It's just that simple, unless you have a really fancy phone, I just discovered. It's keeping as many things sturdy as you can. I heard a whoa. Some kids caught me this really big millipede today. I almost had to wrestle it out of their hands. They did not want to give it back. So if you notice, I'm holding my hand super steady and the phone steady, and I'm gonna have to move the animal. Come here, animal. It's never gonna be perfect. Hey, Sandy, do you want to share what happened with your toad?
He hopped away and went behind my desk, and I couldn't find him. Luckily, the video wasn't on me trying to find him.
But, you know, those are the fun things about teaching. So tell me about what kind of questions could we be asking if we have an animal like this in the spotlight? Oops, and hopefully not being thrown. There we go. And I can actually have you at home put your questions in the Q&A. And maybe I could have Gwen, or I'm not sure if Laura can see those. If Laura, if you can see them, you can read them out. But Gwen, maybe if you can see them. What questions could we ask students about these animals you're looking at right now related to any lessons that you all are teaching right now? And I see Denise has an animal out.
Liz, what we're going to do is Sarah's just going to kind of spotlight
Yeah.
A couple of you that are using your animals and showing your animals, so we can kind of go through that.
That's
See
beautiful.
how other people are doing it, and it will kind of show up a little bit bigger on each screen.
Ooh, Rolly's got a good one. Denise has a good one.
Yeah, so we'll just go through some of those just so Sarah can kind of show all those. But in terms of questions, I know a question I get a lot of times from students is, will that hurt me?
Will this animal hurt you?
Yes.
You know, it just depends which animal. So if you don't know what it is, don't put it in your hand. That's the general rule I use. If you don't know what it is, don't pick it up. Millipedes are generally fine to hold. So I'm going to copy the bug chicks, who, if you don't know them, look them up. They just moved to Cincinnati. It's so amazing. If an animal has a whole lot of legs like this one, and it's generally moving in a straight line, that one is probably a millipede. If and it's moving kind of slow. If it has a whole lot of legs that's moving really fast in an S shape, just think, no, 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 don't touch, and move your hand in like an S pattern. I can't really do it because I don't have this camera on me, but generally just put it in a container instead of in your hand. We have beetles here that can spray things that could hurt you, so put it in a jar. Roly-polies, great for the classroom. Just make sure you've got some, I have soil in the bottom of this to keep a little moist. Sorry I said moist, that's such a gross word. Spiders, usually I can keep for a day or two, as long as you've got some water in there with them and a little cotton ball. Nothing's going to hurt you if you're not pinching it, generally speaking. Let's see, what physical features do you notice about the animal that might help it survive in its environment? That's a good question. Oh, Rolly's got a nice slug action going. And Rolly, I think if you pull it back just a little bit, there you go. And if you put your hand right next to where the slug is, the camera will focus on your hand instead of on your face. Because I think sometimes that's a good trick. The camera wants to focus on the biggest thing behind it. So if you make that your hand instead of your body, or whatever is kind of behind it, that works better. And then you'll have to back it up just a little bit, right there. Very nice. Got lots of animals. And Laura's got one, I see. And I asked them to bring a flashlight. That'll be a tool that will be helpful, because depending on your lighting, you notice I used one on the spider because I don't have very good lighting in my office. This morning, the flashlight made it worse. This afternoon, it makes it better. It always depends.
I got something kind of cool that started to eat the other animals that I caught.
So that's another one, you know, think about, thank you for bringing that up, really. Think about spacing out your animals into different containers so that they don't eat each other before your lesson. We've definitely had that happen before. And if you have things that might escape, so I was watching these roaches because they're so fast. Now they're really moving. I wasn't sure if they'd be contained by this blue container. You can always put some Vaseline along the upper rim. That has kept ants in before. If I've had ants in my container, that can work.
It's a little ringneck snake.
Ooh,
oh,
nice.
Wow, look at that.
Awesome.
Nice.
It ate my earthworm.
I believe it's his earthworm now.
What do you mean you're earthworm? So, gosh, thank you all for bringing your animals. This is great. So it never works out quite how you plan. So something to consider if you're ever going to try this is taking a video or a picture of your animals ahead of time. Sandy and I talked about that earlier. That really helped us a lot when we had technical difficulties or an animal escaped or why isn't it moving all of a sudden? Or the kids wanted to see up close what that animal looked like, or we even had kids that wanted to look later when they were returning to the lesson. They wanted to look back at that animal again and use it for writing exercises, or we have had classrooms do nature analogies to come up with metaphors that relate to each animal, things like that. It's really nice to take a nice photo of it or video ahead of time so that you have it and you can share it during that lesson if you're having any issues during the technical side, because you just never know when you're going to drop your phone and smash it on your garage floor like me. But actually, this old phone of mine works really well for focusing on this. My new phone does not, because it has 3 different lenses. Ooh, fancy, isn't that nice? Zoom doesn't like it. When I tried it out yesterday, everything was fuzzy. So those old phones you have might actually work better for this, to just charge them up and be connected to Wi-Fi and use them as your go-to get them dirty with worm goo phones. But webcams work really good too. Hopefully this is useful. We had fun doing that with the kids. It was the thing that our teachers reported back as being one of the more engaging pieces. And you can always share the videos and things later of your animals. But we've got a nice collection of all of our photos and videos from our sessions. So any other questions that popped up? Panelists, anything you want to share about your animal adventures? Denise, I know you've had quite a lot of adventures with your students outside.
Well, the other day we were outside on the playground, and of course they know I love all the bugs and critters. So they came running over and was like, oh, you have to see this crazy bug that's in the Gaga pit. And it was a very emeraldy green cicada. So I did tell them what it is, sorry.
You can't get it all right.
But I got it on my finger. It was kind of by the door, so I was afraid it would get smashed. But I got it on my finger, and they all got to check it out, and we talked about it. And then I put it over the fence so it wouldn't get smashed in the Gaga pit. But it did try to pierce me and get some fluid out of me while I was holding it. I was like, ooh. So anyway.
And was it effective? Did it do it?
It didn't get anything. I don't think it like.
And that's a great body part thing because they're not built for that. They're built for plants.
Right.
Yeah, that's great.
And we've had a lot of we had a lot of monarch caterpillars again on our milkweed out in the outdoor classroom. So we brought a load of them in. So they're just so excited to see them eat and get fat and go up and start making their chrysalis. And they come in and we have butterflies. We get to release them. So that's been really cool too. Again this year.
That's great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, Melissa and your whole entire crew, I mean, you did bring a crew and it was absolutely amazing. I just want to say thank you to Melissa, to Rolly, to Sandy, Denise, Lisa, Laura. You guys were absolutely amazing. And just seeing your containers that you used, I think is very helpful for teachers. Like, you don't have to go out and get tweezers and screaming and all this. You can use a yogurt cup. That's perfectly fine, So using whatever you have to show these students and get them more engaged, I think is absolutely fabulous. So a wonderful shout out to Liz and her entire crew at Cincinnati Nature Center. You guys did an amazing job. And I want to thank you so much for being part of our virtual Ultimate Educator Expo. Thanks, guys.
Do you want to do a door prize?
Oh, yes.
Like when? I know I have something to give away.
Right here too. So if we have a John who is logged in, John, I don't have a last name, I just have a name. If you have if you could just put in the Q&A, hey, I'm here. And what we will do is we will use your email that you logged in to this account on today to hook you up with Melissa and get your door prize.
Which is The Secret Life of Backyard Bugs.
Nice. So if you are John, if you will please put your name or raise your hand into the Q&A. If we don't hear anything from John in like the next couple seconds, we'll call another name. Okay. While we're waiting for John, I just want to let our other attendees know, again, you guys can all visit the GCEE website. You can go to www.gc-ee.org. And hopefully you can see that on your screen right now, www.gc-ee.org. Now you can find all the handouts from any of our sessions. You can find all the contact information for any of our member organizations. And you can also, if you're interested in a certificate of participation, you go to that website, you click on the left-hand side where it says 2020 Expo Breakout Sessions. You complete that certificate of participation form, and we will verify your attendance against the Zoom webinar participation list, and we'll send a certificate within 2 weeks of the end of the Expo. Okay, give us a little time to get everything all organized, and we'll send that out to you. So I don't believe that we've heard from John, so I am going to go with, I'm going to go with our next door prize winner. If there's a Taylor Plummer who's still in. Taylor Plummer, if you will just raise your hand or put in the Q&A that you are still here. Oh, I see a Q&A pop up. Okay, Taylor is here. So Taylor, we will use your email that you signed in. We will get that to Liz, and Liz will get your door prize to you, and we'll get all that organized.
Congratulations.
Okay? Congratulations. Yes, absolutely.
Right,
well, thank you again, all you folks from the Cincinnati Nature Center. For all of you attendees, thank you so much for being here. Remember, we're doing this all again tomorrow. We have some amazing speakers going. So if you log on tomorrow at 3:15, we will have our zoo encounter animals. And then at 3:30, we'll do our first breakout session. And that is going to be the Cincinnati Parks and Imago are doing a joint program. And then again at 4, we will have another zoo encounter. And then at 4:15, Gorman Heritage Farm will be on to do a program that you don't even need to be on a farm for. So log on tomorrow. We'll see you all again at 3:15, and we hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming.